Okay, ding, 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 ding. Here we go. The Infinite Creativity Satsang with Sab in Paris. Just going to get myself ready mentally, physically, spiritually, and computerally. I look something like this today. Hey, hello, how are you doing? And welcome to this little slice of a Sunday. So I see I'm live on some screen that I've got over there. It's going to be a bit of an experiment tonight. I'm just checking all my feeds and stuff. It's going to be creativity all the way. I'll show you some of mine if you show me some of yours. Does that sound like a deal? So the idea is I talk about creative stuff and I'd love to talk about yours, but if you don't send me anything, you could send me links, you could send me comments, questions about creativity, productivity, life, the universe and everything, this crazy thing we call life. And if you don't, I'll just have to talk to myself. And I'm not saying it's boring, but you know, I'd like a bit of interaction. Let me show you what's going on the other screen here. So we've got me chatting away down there, so that means that's live. I'm going to see what's going on. We've got me chatting away down there, so that means that's live. Okay, this is YouTube, so I'm live on YouTube. I'm live on. We've got me chatting away down there, so that means that's live. Okay, yeah, this is YouTube, so I'm live on YouTube. That's going crazy. There's voices everywhere. So I seem to be live on YouTube, and I seem to be live on Facebook, and I seem to be live here in the suburbs of Paris. And yeah, what this means is it's good. But I've changed where I do this live on Facebook, because last week I had some problems because people were putting comments in and I couldn't see anything. And what had happened was Facebook had stopped feeding comments from personal pages to this thing, which wasn't too cool. So people were commenting, I didn't see them. I kept saying, come on, comment. They commented, or you commented. So anyway, there was that. So I've put it on another page called Infinity Coaching. So theoretically, I'm just going to check for Infinity Coaching, and I should be live on that because that's the main page. And then I can kind of forget about everything else. So welcome. So this is the final page I'll show you before I start launching in. That is nothing to do with what I'm trying to show you. I'm trying to look at a Facebook page here. Normal service may or may not be resumed at some point. Infinity Coaching page. That's actually my website, Infinity Coaching website. How about that? Where I offer a free, complimentary and non-paying and gratis coaching session if you want one. Creative Transformational Coaching. So there's a little red button. It says live. It's looking good. Infinity Coaching, and I am hopefully live. So what I'd like, if you are watching, is to put a comment in. So you need to be watching on facebook.com/Infinity Coaching Paris. There's a link. If you saw a link to this anywhere else, there's a link to that page in the description. So you need to be watching there. And then I should be able to see your comments. So please, could someone comment now, either on YouTube or on Facebook at Infinity Coaching, and I will see if I receive it. There's a little timer. Yes, I'm live there as well. How about that? Captions are auto-generated. Oh my goodness, I'm being auto-generated. How about that? I've got a comment. It's looking good. It's Nazanin. Hello, Nazanin. Right, that's great. So I take it you're watching on Infinity Coaching, Nazanin, which is good. If anyone's on YouTube, you could leave a comment as well. That would be interesting to know if they get through. And we'll take it from there. Okay. So the topic for today was 1, 2, 3, 4. Who are we creating for? Well, who? That is the question. I don't really, as true to myself, I didn't actually, I'll get rid of that. I didn't actually plan anything. That's kind of my modus operandi, as it were, in a good Roman accent there. Not to prepare too much, although I prepared a few screens and I know what I did this week, more or less. I go through my Facebook page actually to see what I did and then talk about it. And hopefully I'll get some questions about creativity, productivity, life, the universe, and everything, and croissant, if you like. And I'll talk about those as well. Another thing you could do is put a link in the comments to something of yours that you've created that is on the internet. And then I can look at it. It could be your words, it could be photographs, it could be painting, it could be poetry, it could be a sculpture, anything you like. So I will talk about your stuff. I won't give you great answers to your deepest questions because you're the only one who's got the answers. That's my kind of philosophy. But I can certainly talk about them. That's something I'm okay at. So if you want to send me any comments about anything at all, either inspired by what I show you, what I say, or by your stuff itself, then that'd be great, and I can have something to say. Otherwise, I've got a few questions that I've been saving up, which I'll go into in a little while as well. So, well, let me say that I'm Sab in Paris, and I wrote down here creativity coach and Paris chronicler. I just have one thing to say about that. I don't like it. I don't like it because it's a label. I don't like giving myself labels. I prefer to say what I do rather than what I am. Because what I am, it's so random, it's so personal, it's so, I could say I'm this and somebody else could say, no, you're not. And they'd probably be right. So I have to put something like that. Otherwise, I'd put something like coach people to be more creative. But that's not so catchy. So creativity coach is basically a label that I'm forced to use. But what I prefer is I work with people to help them be as creative as they would love to be. And I do it in various ways. I do it specifically through helping them to be improve their photography or get happier with their photography. Because again, I'm not too wild about improvement. I think we're fine where we are, but you can be happy with your stuff, that's for sure. So help people be happier with their photography, happier with their writing, and the rest, bring it on. I don't claim to have much experience in anything else except photography and writing, which I do a bit of. I do that every day. And apart from that, I just sort of freestyle, contemporaneous blah blah on whatever you throw at me. So do say hello. I need, hi again. Nazanin has just sent me a message from YouTube. That is fantastic. That means that in this one platform that I have, I'm getting comments from Nazanin, no one else, from Nazanin on YouTube and on Facebook. That is excellent. I'm very happy about that. All right, good. So that means we're working. So at least I've had 2 comments tonight. Marvelous. Yeah, so let me go to my page here, and the proposition for what I'm going to talk about, is it there? No, it's further down. Here we are. Just trying to get that off the screen so I'm not actually streaming something I don't have to. There we go. You can't see this. It's 1, 2, 3, 4. Who are we creating for? And maybe I'll just write that in a little banner somewhere, just so that just for fun, eh? So 1, 2, 3, 4. Semicolon? Colon? What do you reckon? Semicolon. Who are we creating for? Question mark. Add a banner. I can do this actually. Check this out. Oh, okay, yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4. Who are we creating for? So that's the theme today. And this came to me for a simple reason, as most things do. It just cropped up in my week. And the idea is we often seem to be worrying about what other people think about us. That's what it comes down to. And I was doing my masterclass, one of my masterclass lessons, and this was on one of the slides. Create for yourself, first and foremost. For a start, that's going to bring out what you really want to do, as opposed to what other people want you to do or what you think you should be doing for other people. And you might be thinking you're doing it for other people to impress them, to please them, to keep them happy, to not make them shout at you. There's many, many reasons why you might be creating stuff with someone else in mind. At least you're creating. But there's a fundamental problem with creating for other people. And that is, you're not being honest to yourself. You're making compromises. And that means it's not the true you that's coming out. And the other thing is, the flip side of that is, if you create for yourself, you'll touch people more deeply and they will see the real you. Your stuff will be better for a start. You'll be more satisfied with it. You should be happier to share it. And when people see it, they'll see that it's you. They'll see something in there that, if they know you, it'll remind them of you somehow. And if they don't know you, they'll feel that they're getting to know you a little bit. Whereas if it's just like creating to order, it's not going to be so good. I always remember this guy. There was an open day, an open arts day in Montreuil, I think it is. It's kind of just on the edge of Paris, full of artistic studios and people doing things in their spare room and stuff. And there's an open day. You wander around the artist studios and you see their stuff. They put it outside. They welcome you in, and it's cool. And I remember this one guy, and he had a proper artist studio. And I went in. I already told this story maybe 2 weeks ago. I'm not sure. But, these stories will come and go depending on what comes up. And he had his style. Definite style. He had these sort of swirly bits, lovely shading of color, and I don't know. It was what it was. It was definitely his style. He'd found his style, or his style had found him. But the thing is, he'd been doing it for years, maybe for decades, because when he got known for that, and then that's what people wanted. So he had to keep on doing it, and it became a job. It became a day job. His creativity, boom. Now, either he was okay with that and he just treated it as a day job, or he was deeply frustrated. Or, I guess it's a third possibility, he was very happy doing his thing again and again. Once he'd found his thing, or as I keep saying, once his thing had found him, that was it. He was happy. He was a happy, what do you say? Happy puppy? I don't know. Doing his thing for the rest of his life and getting paid for it. Maybe that was a third option. But what I do tell people is be honest to yourself, first of all. Do it for you first. And not only will that feel better, the people that come to you, either because they're interested in what you're doing or they're interested in you, will be people who are genuinely interested in you, not that people you've pleased or, that sort of thing. So there you go. I've got a couple of comments here. Now, what I want to do here with these comments is, basically, I spend half my life creating stuff. And the other half of my life, I spend helping others to be as creative as they would love to be. So what I want this to be is 50-50 as well. I'm going to throw out my stuff of the week, but I want you to throw your stuff at me as well. It could be comments on what I'm saying or what I'm showing you. It could be questions about my stuff or about your stuff or about your difficulties in, getting creative ideas or getting focused or producing stuff. How do you actually get the ideas out of your head and produce and get them onto, paper or canvas or whatever, or screen? And then how do you produce regularly? Now, it's funny I'm telling you about this because I would be the last person to talk about productivity and stuff like that, because I was a disaster. Maybe I still am to an extent. I've just got a million ideas, follow this for a minute, do that, try this one, yeah, that's okay. And so it went on. So it went on for years, for decades. And it kind of still is. But having said that, I've found a certain discipline. And the thing is, if you want to create stuff, you need the discipline side, or you just don't create anything. And it's incredibly frustrating. We want to create, we want to get stuff out there. We want to get those photos out, the artwork out, the pottery out, the sewing out, whatever it is you create. We want to get it out there, don't we? I mean, tell me if this isn't right. Hi, everybody. I'm just getting some comments here. So Nazanin is saying, yes, it's great. So I'm assuming you mean that it's working on both platforms, YouTube and on Facebook. That's fantastic. Chris is saying, hi Sab. Hi, Chris. Nice to have you here. Yaruska is here. Hi, Yaruska. Thanks for tuning in from the deepest, darkest Peru, I think. And this is Despina saying, hello, Sab. Hi, everybody. Hi. So don't forget, I do need your comments. Otherwise, I'm just going to talk about me, myself, and I, and that isn't going to be that great, is it? Let's face it. So, yeah. So this thing about we people who have got these ideas inside us and we want to get them out. How do you do it? That's part of it. That's part of it. So I can definitely talk about the productivity. And how can I talk about it? Well, quite simply because for the last couple of years, I've published a photograph every day, a creative photograph of Paris with a text. That's it. That's my claim to fame. And I'm not saying anything more than that. All I'm saying is I do that. So if you want to know anything about producing something artistic daily, you can ask me, you know, because I do it for what it's worth. And it's worth what it's worth. You know, it doesn't matter what it's worth. It's just something I do. It's become part of me. And you too. If you would like to create more and produce more, that's one way to do it. You find the thing that you love doing. You're able to do a little bit each day. You don't have to do it every day. But remember my thing about if you haven't done it, your thing, in a week, it's getting a little bit questionable as to whether it's really your thing or not. So, oh, hi, I've got Libby is watching. Hello, Libby. Just say hello to Libby. Hello, Libby. Hello, Libby. Thank you. How are you doing? Where is everybody? Give me some feedback here. Where are you and what's happening with you? Tell me the last creative thing you created. What was the last thing you created? I'd like to know. Even if it's a picture, even if it's an interesting meal, even if it's even if it's a fantastic huge painting that covers a wall on its way to the Louvre. I don't know. You tell me, what was the last thing you created, and how was it to create it? Was it easy? Was it a struggle? Are you happy with it? Once it's gone, do you worry about what people think of it, or what? You tell me. There you go, 50-50. Half me and my stuff, half you and your stuff. Does that sound good? Except you've got to send me your stuff otherwise. Now, what you can do is send me a link, if you like, to a page where your stuff is. I'll put the link in here. We can look at it together. And fantastic. Wouldn't that be cool? Right, let me show you some stuff that I've been up to then. What am I doing? Don't know what I'm doing. This is what I'm doing. Yeah, okay. Right, so this is my homepage. Well, let me take you to my photos first of all. I'll start with my photograph, shall I? And I've got a couple of interesting things to show you tonight, which maybe you haven't seen before. Right, so this was last week. You've seen these, so I'm not going to talk about these again. But this is the structure of my daily photographic output in a grid. So if you want to look at those, you can look at last week's recording. And this is the version with the text. And I think I had just about finished those. I'm not sure if I talked about the very last one down here, which was this little door. Such a cute door, isn't it? It's a little door. I think it's a door. Maybe it's a window. And there was a series of these two, actually. There was this one up in the top left, which is actually an amazing optical illusion, which Chris pointed out to me, I think. If you look at it for a second, it turns into an inverted pyramid. I'll just give you a second, just in case you want to try that. Boom, there it is. It's swapped for me. Really cool. And it says in love with a few little hearty things. And then down here is the counterpart to it. When I create my grids, now I try to make the grids coherent. I don't know if you say that in English, but in French they say cohérent, like they go together. So the grid has become a kind of meta creation, like a bit bigger than just the individual photos. And yeah, I had a few comments on this, and people were saying that it's cool. I mean, basically for commenting on the door itself and the art, not necessarily my photograph. But yeah, what a funny little place. I don't know if it's the people in the apartment or whatever who painted it. I doubt it, actually. But it's really nice, and it's got character, and the stuff around it, whether you like street art or not, is very personal, isn't it? I mean, it kind of looks a bit of a mess, to be honest. But it's a colourful mess, and it's a varied, eclectic mess. And is it better than a bare wall? I would say yes. I would say yes. I mean, I wouldn't like to see all of Paris like this, or, you know, famous old buildings covered in this stuff. But there are some buildings, they seem to be improved by this. And give me your comments on this as well. What do you think of sort of random street art? What do you think of, I mean, Nazanin, I think it was, contributed a photo in one of the groups last week, and there was a a mural, a very nice, well-painted mural. It was a story and everything, with someone's big face, and there was a kind of metro line. It was really, really well painted. And she took a photograph of someone, I don't know what you want to call them, but they were painting right over the top of this. I mean, completely ruining it. Some sort of manga monster thing in a sort of street style, whereas the other one was more artistic. And what do you think of that? Kind of, you could say it's a shame, but then again, the person who was painting it on the wall obviously thought it was an improvement. Otherwise, but then again, they also didn't respect what was already on the wall. So should we draw conclusions and say that their idea of an improvement is probably not many other people's? Who knows? Anyway, so Libby is from South Africa. Made autumn fairies with my granddaughter out of leaves. Autumn fairies, that sounds absolutely beautiful. Feel free to, I'm just wondering if I can grab a link from here. Am I able to? Oh, I don't know if I can actually copy links. I might have to be somewhere else. Let me see if I can. If I go to infinity thingy, can I see the comments there? Yeah, I can. So I could actually copy the link there if you give me a link, and I will post it. We'll look at it here together if that works for you. So Libby's saying, well, that sounds fantastic. Autumn fairies with my granddaughter from leaves. I would love to see them. And who else? What have we got? So I love your photos, Sab, especially during this time to connect with your beautiful city. That's great, Libby. So yeah, that's my main thing. It's one of my main things anyway, the photographs. For some reason, I'm going to show you something really weird that I discovered from just before I started my current project, which is called When Lady Eiffel Smiles, otherwise known as the Paris Photo Chronicles, and is programmed to run for 18 years. Or to be more precise, 9 times 9 times 9 times 9 times, which turns out at about 6,561 or something like that. And the number of days equates to 18 years. How ridiculous is that? I often say this. I did the math, and I think I'm still going to be alive if everything goes according to plan to finish it. And this will be my life's work. Do you have a life's work? What have you got? Do you fancy having a life's work? And it doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you do or what your job is. Anyone can do it. All I'm doing is taking a photograph of Paris. In fact, I live in the outskirts of Paris. I go into Paris and I take a few shots. I wander around with my smartphone, nothing special. Well, it is a very special phone. They're marvelous these days. I wander around, I come home, and I've got depends how much time I had, depends on how inspired I was, depends what Lady Eiffel offered me, depends if it was raining, and I come back between, let's say, 10 and 20 shots, which are Paris Set Me Free worthy. They're worthy, in my mind, of joining this collection. Who couldn't do that? Go out and take some photographs. And then I write about them and I post something. And you see the writing that I do is quite short. So for example, the one I just showed you is this here. And it's nothing, it's what it is. Let's see, I'll just read it for you. It says, an artistic tide is surging up within me. And every time I see street art in and around Paris, the rainbow ocean rises higher. And the seawall of resistance springs another leak. I was cringing by about halfway through this metaphor, but I said, this metaphor may be less than watertight too, but I'll soon be hitting the streets with a bag of teeny coloured infinity squared tiles and some exterior fixer. Shh, don't tell anyone, it's a bit illegal. I'll paint the whole town red and green and blue and yellow and orange and purple, square by square. It'll be the rebirth of an old adventure in handy new pocket-sized form. Watch out for the dam bust. So you see, I just write any old stuff. It doesn't really matter. Whatever comes out of my head, out of my fingers, I do it. And then I try to make it, reasonably well written and stuff. So why couldn't you do that? Why couldn't you do that with your, maybe you don't want to. Maybe you're just, you like appreciating others' efforts. Maybe that inspires you from time to time, but you don't feel the need to do it regularly. And all of that's fine. Of course, it's all fine. Having said that, I do find creating on a regular basis is great. And it gets you into this kind of habit. And pretty soon, it's as easy as brushing your teeth or doing whatever you do without thinking. And you start to feel bad if you haven't done it. That's the cool thing. That's when you've tipped the balance, you see. You've gone over it's the tipping point. You're bugged when you haven't done it. That means it's part of your routine. So that's what I recommend creative people to do, amongst other things, if it fits in with, the way you work. So yeah, thanks, Libby, for that. And that's not that. What do I want? No, I want this. I want Despina to say here in Greece, created photos. Fantastic, that's great. Yeah, and I saw some photographs from your daughter as well, who shared those. Those were really great. Just trying to balance, work out who's the most creative in the family now. You've got some competition there, Despina. So here we are with that. And I'll move on to the next day. And the next day, there's 6 of them now, because it's one a day. This is the secret bit. You have to look and see if you can recognize anything which is all part of the fun. I do try to inject fun into everything if possible, fun or intrigue or curiosity. So I decided to do this a while ago, and I highlight a little bit of them. Now it's covered by a black screen, but the black screen's it's 90% opaque. So if you look closely, you can see the photograph, but it's very difficult. And if you don't look closely, you can't. So there we go. There's a whole bunch of interesting stuff there. What on earth do you think those might be? Well, let's have a look at some of them. Keep the comments coming in. Tell me where you're from, and tell me what you created recently. And if you've got any pictures to share, please share them, and I will post them up and we can look at them together. This is something I thought of today, how good it would be. So I'd love to do that. I won't do anything of anybody's without permission, but as soon as you give me the links, I'll do it, which you can do beforehand. Despina says, I think Daphne is by far more creative than me. Really? So there's a thing, isn't there? When I said that, it was just a joke, obviously. But any creativity is good. And by definition, creativity is bringing something into being which didn't exist before. So in fact, it's incomparable. You might think you can compare. It's like bringing a human being into existence. Do you compare little babies with each other? Do you compare kids to each other? Maybe you do. Maybe some people do. But should we really? Aren't we all unique? So all that is just to say, don't worry about comparing. You're both creative. That's all. You don't need to go any further than that. Why? I said it as a joke, so it's my fault. But no, everybody's creative. So there we are. This is, I'll go through a few of these. Bring the comments in. That's what I want. So this was a nice one. I don't think I covered this last week, did I? Very strange shot, actually. And I was zooming through a metro station. I think we were in movement. The statue was, or maybe, yeah, I don't know. Anyway, it's clearly, it's a statue. It's probably the Louvre metro station. And on the station platform, they've got statues. How cool is that? And there was this one. But you can see it's mixed with a reflection of probably what's inside the train. So I was taking the shot through the train window, and all of this mushy stuff here is reflections of, do I need to get rid of this or not? I'll leave that there. No, I'll get rid of it for the photos. So what we're looking at here is a ton of reflections with this statue coming through strongly. The original was horrible, really mushy. I couldn't see anything. So I brought up the colors and everything. And you've got the reflection of someone here. You've got, I don't know where I'm going with this, but I did like it. There's something very, very strange about it. And all of these mushy colors and lines and the fadiness and the graininess, it's turned it into almost an abstract composition with this one little statue there. And I think I said something about the the arms were. I'll see what I said in the actual text. I said something about the arms. The pose. The pose reminds me of bodybuilders on stage. You know, they do this sort of stuff with their teeny-weeny briefs and an utter devotion to an exaggerated physical ideal. Actually, that isn't what I wanted to tell you about. I wanted to say, I said, this foppish young fella calls a metro station platform near the Louvre chez lui, or his place. I can't help noticing that his bent arms form an admirable pair of pointy brackets around his head. You see, it's like that, around his head. And not a bad precursor for the digital age. His manhood, though. So that's kind of. It's strange the things you see, isn't it? Seeing, I mean, before typing and the internet and stuff, computers, I wouldn't have looked at his arms, at his elbows, bent elbows, and thought, oh look, two pointy brackets. Isn't it weird how things change? And then there was this one. Now this one was very close to those two windows that I talked about earlier. And it was interesting. What's the first thing you see here? I think I asked this somewhere in either was it in the writing group? Because if you're interested in writing, I use these very same pictures as writing prompts and photography prompts. So for example, here in the writing group, the creative blog and article writing group, which can encompass poetry, memes, original memes by you, and short stories. That's part of what leads to a powerful article and what can be part of the creative process. I realized that when I called it the creative blog and article writing group, I thought, great, really focused. Then once I'd done it, I thought, yeah, but I like poetry, I like short stories, and I like memes. So I thought I'll incorporate those into it. And it's all language, isn't it? It's all playing with language. And to be honest, poetry and memes and stuff, trying to say the strongest possible message in the fewest possible words, this is a powerful training for powerful articles. So I throw in my photo of the day into the writing group and the photography group, my creative smartphone photography group. I'll just show you. You see that there's, by the way, in the smartphone photography group at the moment for Mystery Monday, which is tomorrow, last day, get a picture of you with your favorite mug, please. Your favorite mug that you like drinking out of, and it'll be fun to look at those. Anyway, that's not what it's about. This used to be me, by the way. This is Despina's photograph. This used to be me until about 2 weeks ago when I gave up coffee. I don't know if it's permanent or not. And it's this absolutely, yeah, like drink a little bit. Shh. A bit more. Almost. Now you may speak. I like that a lot. Oh, there's a new one. Oh my God, there's some new ones coming in. That's fantastic. All right, anyway, we're not here for that. I'm just saying that oh God, that's me again. So I put my photograph. It happens to be, I'll go down to another one. It's not that. You don't want to see my. So in the photography group, remember I'm supposed to stimulate you to be more creative. I do my best, but then it's up to you. I've got a message from Despina. I'll come back to that. So I post the photograph and I ask, how does the image make you feel? What does the text below bring to your mind? So I've taken a little bit of text out of what I wrote, even in the photography group, and used that as an inspiration as well for some photographs. And then I say, let a few ideas or emotions or spontaneous reactions come forth. I think this is a great idea. I hope it catches on. I don't know. For the moment, we've got a couple of people commenting. I was a little bit uneasy at first about using my stuff in there because I don't really want it to be about me. It seems like every 10 days I do a creative disintegration self-portrait. Do I really want to put my face in there all the time? But then again, I just thought, be authentic. This is what you do. Every 10 days, you do a photograph of you creatively disintegrating, like a self-portrait over the years. It's kind of scary, but it forces me to be creative, even with myself. So I thought, stop asking these questions. Just do it. This is your thing. Do your thing. Don't be embarrassed about a photograph of you. You're not saying it's great. You're not saying it isn't great. You're just saying this is today's photograph. So there it is. I felt uneasy. I felt, I didn't want people to think, oh my God, his face again. But who else's face have I got to share? So there it is. And it's only one in 10 that is of me. And then it's all my stuff. I'm putting it out there. I'm really trying hard to share it so that it will inspire others. And I do the same thing in the blog thing, the creative blog thing. See there, look at that beautiful photograph. Inspired. I mean, maybe the photo wasn't inspired by my photo, but I inspired her to post. Wonderful, from Dorothy. Marvelous. It's incredible. And she's getting these amazing shadows through a multifaceted crystal glass ball. And then I don't know what's happened here, whether this is inside the crystal, this red stuff, or not, but it's great. She's really found a thing there. And you see, I've done the same thing there. And I used the photograph and a snippet of text, which again, I felt uncomfortable with, because not every text is going to have something that I can take out to inspire. That's what I thought. And then I thought, you've only got a certain amount of time in life. Make it easy. Take some lines, even take a word. I could take 3 random words out of my text. I mean, look, here's the text. So I could take out curves, lamppost, and totems. They're kind of weird words, aren't they? I could take those 3 words out and put them as the, inspirational bit of quote. Why not? So it's just a question of, reframing things and not being too nervous about stuff. All right. So anyway, that's enough about that. So do join those and do contribute when you feel moved to do so. And the more you contribute, the more you'll get out of it. So Despina says, the pink balloon face, this is what I see first. So did I. Obviously, I saw Sacré-Cœur behind, but I wouldn't have taken the shot of Sacré-Cœur maybe if I hadn't seen the pink balloon. And strangely enough, the pink balloon is kind of absolutely ugly and horrible, as opposed to the classical beauty of Sacré-Cœur. Or is it? Because I mean, I took the photo because the balloon was there, not because Sacré-Cœur was there. So what is beautiful then? Maybe the balloon is actually more beautiful in my mind for this photograph than Sacré-Cœur. If I take a picture just of Sacré-Cœur, what have I got? Some standard tourist snap that a million people have already taken. And that's not really what street photography is about. It's about putting things together which don't seem to go together perfectly and presenting them to the world. That is what you see when you stand there and look that way. It is, I'm afraid. And then I didn't really spot this, but there's a guy here, and I got some people. I think it was Chris said something about this guy. He's got to the edge of the building. He was thinking of jumping off. Then he saw the balloon and he changed his mind. All sorts of interesting stuff coming out of this. There's another little bit of graffiti down here. Is it? I think. How do people get up there? That's what I want to know. And there's a lamp, which should please Alice if she ever tunes in. Lamp, Alice. Lamp. Alice likes lamps. And there you have it. I don't know what I wrote about that. Did I write something interesting that I want to share with you? I was talking about, I don't know what I was talking about there. I think I was talking about Basquiat, something like that. He was this young origin, maybe, I don't know, not Barbados or Puerto Rican or something. Anyway, he had wild, crazy, curly hair and stuff. And he was in about 10 years or something, and most of it in the last couple of years before he died of an overdose of heroin and cocaine, I think. Just incredible volume of work. And I went to this exhibition in the Louis Vuitton Center, this crazy new building in the Bois de Boulogne. And it was amazing how much work he'd produced. And it was just stuff on things, huge pieces of work, colors everywhere, crazy scribbled stuff. And he had a style. His style had found him, or he found his style. It was incredible. So I was probably comparing this kind of scruffy balloon thing to other types of art, wondering what it's worth. And in the end, you can't really say what art is and isn't. It's very, very difficult to say, isn't it? So, yeah, so I'm starting thinking of putting some of my little squares all over Paris pretty soon as a kind of puzzle. People can go around trying to find all of them from the same picture or something. I don't know. See how that goes. And then we had this one. I'm just going to put a little comment here which says, ask your questions about creativity. It's not 𝗏 Paris anymore, sorry. I'll edit it. I'm going to say, ask your questions, creativity questions in the chat, please. In the comments, please. Save. Right, so ask me questions about creativity and stuff. Questions. What is it for you? What do you struggle with? How would you like to be more productive? How would you like to be more creative? What are the stumbling blocks that stop you from creating more stuff? Or maybe you haven't found how you want to be creative. You know that you've got something inside you, but you're not sure you're not sure what it is. Or maybe you don't think you've got enough time in your day to create stuff on a regular basis. And creative doesn't have to be selfish. It can be very, very, very generous, because when you create something and you share it, it's a wonderful gift to others. This one stirred something in me about numbers. I'll just see what I said about it. This is one of the most famous buildings in Montmartre. It's the little cabaret, tiny cabaret called the Cabaret of the Agile Rabbit. The 𝗏𝗏𝗙𝗜𝗓𝗏. Oh no, not that one. And what did I say about this? I said, oh, I have got some more. No, I haven't got more comments. And I said, one of my many maverick Paris projects was or is collecting characterful house numbers from 1 to 100 around the city. Oh, I started this ages ago. Most of the house numbers are standard, like this top plaque, white on blue, but much less, even less, picturesque than that. Pretty standard. Nice, but standard. And I had this project. I was going to do a project with all the numbers from 1 to 100, but every single one different, because if you look for them, you can find interesting examples of each number. It's been on hold for about 10 years, but with the 𝗏𝗏𝗙𝗜𝗓𝗏's offering, that's the little cabaret here, I might just relaunch. And 22 is my birthday, the 22nd of August. And 4 is 2 times 2. How cool is that? And I love multiples of 2. And all my photos and paintings are square and everything. Don't knock it, folks. No, don't knock it. Folks make careers out of finding significance in the very silly. Myself included. And numerologists included too. Because silly is fun. Everything is nonsense. And my Paris plaque collection will be a splendid sight indeed. I mean, how ridiculous would that be? A bunch of Paris plaques from 1 to 81. I think I'll do 9 sets of 9. From 1 to 81 numbers in funky Paris street signs. Great. Completely pointless, but there you go. Isn't art? Might make someone smile. Might make someone sad. This idiot spending his time doing that. But, you got to do something with your life, right? And I say it will be a splendid sight indeed, although maybe it will have to be from 1 to 81 to fit the 3 squared times 3 squared grid I'm envisaging. So 3 times 3 is 9, and I'm envisaging 9 of those. Okay, so 9 times 9, 81. I did that with the Opéra Garnier, the Paris Opera House. Had a private tour of that, went mad, snapping kind of discreetly but constantly, and I ended up with 9 times 9 grids of photographs from the Paris Opera House, from the very top to the very bottom. Amazing. So I think I'll do that with my numbers. Nice little side project. It's really cool to have side projects, sub-projects, which can be part of your bigger project, but you just got your eye open. Once you've given yourself a little side project, like interesting plaques, interesting street numbers, interesting drain covers, interesting door knockers, doesn't matter. Put it into your head and then just leave it there. And when you're wandering around, you'll start to see them. Whereas you wouldn't have seen them if you hadn't put the idea into your head. So there you go. Now I have Paris street numbers in my mind. So when I see an amazing one like this 22, that will be number 22. Simple. It's done. And what do I say? Now to make this text fit this image. Important, silly stuff. And Despina says, I like writing. Now I started by creating poems out of the days. I saw that. It was really good, fun little project. Like you said, when I miss one day, I feel terrible. It goes without saying that my poems are not coherent. Today I don't know what you mean by that. Today I was exploring the idea of focusing on one topic on every day. For example, Sunday is the day of the sun. So write around sun, light, warmth, etc. Sounds like a good idea to me. Go for it. The thing is, when you have an idea, to just go for it, because we can spend a lot of creative time, creative potential, humming and hawing. Yeah, but maybe I should. Or maybe I should do this. Oh, I don't know. Blah, blah, blah. And maybe you'll find something else. Maybe you'll come back to the original thing. But in the time, I'm not saying you spend like hours a day wondering on what you should do, but get out there and do something, and then you'll have a result. You'll have something to share, and you'll feel good. As soon as you start doing something, you start feeling good, and you forget that it was difficult to start. That's the thing. So it's one of the most difficult things is to start. I've got a kind of a guru that I like. He wrote this book. It's about writing, but it's also about any creative process. He wrote this book. Nobody wants to read your sh' asterisk T. He also wrote this book. Do the work. Do the work. Do the work. I don't know what I can't remember what they're about exactly, but I'll imagine. Do the work means just actually do the work, like do it. Is that clearer now? It means, I'll try and say that in another way. If you want to create something, well, create something. Don't talk about it or dream about it or tell other people about it. Just do it and then show them what you've done. Because, anyone can talk about anything, la, 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 la. But unless you've done something, well, so what? I'm not sure if that's his main point with do the work, but it's about discipline as well. It's just getting up and doing your thing, then do other stuff. Get up, do it again, then do other stuff. It's actually not that hard when it's the thing that has found you, when it's the thing you've tried and you can't stop doing it, and for some reason you want to do it every single day. Once you've found that thing, it's not hard anymore. It really isn't. He's got this other one, and it's called Nobody Wants to Read Your Shit. I'm just not saying the bad word because Facebook shut me down about 2 weeks ago just because I said an incredibly mild word a little bit too loudly or twice or something. Unbelievable. So what does that mean? When you understand that nobody wants to read your shit, you develop empathy. You acquire the skill that is indispensable to all artists and entrepreneurs, the ability to switch back and forth in your imagination from your own point of view as a writer, painter, seller, to the point of view of your reader, gallery goer, customer. You learn to ask yourself with every sentence and every phrase, is this interesting? Is it fun or challenging or inventive? Am I giving the reader enough? Is she bored? Is she following where I want to lead her? So I thought that was going to be about don't worry what other people think. But in fact, it is worrying about what other people think if your aim is to give the people who consume your creations a pleasurable experience. And the more you do that, the more readers you'll have, or the more people will look at your stuff. So that's cool. And he also wrote this. I ain't finished. The War of Art. Break through the blocks and win your inner creative battles. So this is all good stuff as well. The War of Art. Can you believe that? Why would it be difficult to do what you say you really want to do? That's the irony, isn't it? It's the paradox. You say you want to do it. You say you'd love to do it. You do it even if people, didn't pay you for it. You'd do it to avoid other things. If you didn't have to work, you'd do it. And yet, you don't do it. What the hell is going on? Why? Why do we not do what we say we want to do? Well, quite a lot of reasons. I could answer specific questions, but that's a big topic. So, sometimes it is a war. It's a psychological war. Sometimes it's a fun one, but sometimes it's an incredibly frustrating one. And he wrote this, The Artist's Journey. That's nice. It's linked to the idea of the hero's journey, if you've heard of that. The Artist's Journey. The wake of the hero's journey and the lifelong pursuit of meaning. So it's, it's pretty deep and meaningful stuff, actually. And this guy, I think he could probably give up writing and just exist on the proceeds of the books that I've bought from him. 5 of them. Turning Pro. Turning Pro is a really good concept. It's the subtitle is Tap Your Inner Power and Create Your Life's Work. But what does he mean by turning pro? He says turning pro is free, but it's not easy. When we turn pro, we give up a life that we may have become extremely comfortable with. We give up a self that we have come to identify with and to call our own. And he isn't talking about moving from being an amateur and as a hobby and someone who earns their living from it. That's not what he's talking about. I'll see if he says, the passage from amateur to professional is often achieved via an interior odyssey whose trials are survived only at great cost, emotionally, psychologically, and spiritually. We pass through a membrane when we turn pro. It's messy and it's scary. We tread in blood when we turn pro. And again, he's not talking about turning into someone who makes money from their work, although that might come. I'll tell you what he means in a minute. The last little bit of blurb here says, what we get when we turn pro. What we get when we turn pro is we find our power. We find our will and our voice, and we find our self-respect. We become who we always were, but had, until then, been afraid to embrace and to live out. So what he means by turning pro is taking it seriously, taking your art and your creativity seriously. In other words, maybe treating it like a job, forcing yourself to be a creative genius. Because without that little bit of discipline, you're not going to create anything and you're a dreamer. So turning pro is taking your creativity seriously. And that sounds serious, but it means letting it out, giving yourself the chance to produce amazing stuff. And one of the best ways of doing that is taking it seriously. You wake up in the morning. If you've got mornings free, 9 o'clock, you start on your creative work and you do it for a couple of hours every day, or the afternoon every day. So I do like that. It's the discipline that I was lacking. And that combined with a whole load of other stuff and also time running out, I'm getting there. And I'll show you something in a second, which is quite curious. It was me about to start my 18-year Paris Set Me Free project. And I hadn't even written the first one, or maybe I'd written the first one, number 1. And this one here is number, yeah, so the spinner, I think that's a great idea. It's a fantastic, it's beautiful. Every day, do it for a week. You don't have to, you're not committing to anything. You can always change, but try it for a week. Maybe you have already. Every day has a theme. Maybe Monday is the moon. Tuesday is, I don't know, the day you choose. And then that will give you this structure, which is interesting. Structures are fun. And also you see it building and building. So that's great. Well done. Go for that. So any more comments, anyone? Please say hello if you haven't. And if you've just joined, say where you are and the creative thing that you're pleased with this week. What have you created this week that you're really quite happy with? And if you haven't, what do you want to create? That's okay. If you've got something in mind, what would you like to create? And how can I help you or support you with that? And again, if you want to share a link in the comments, do that. And I can actually post it and we can look at your creation together. I would still love to see those autumn fairies made with granddaughter out of leaves. I really would, Libby. Maybe as the weeks go by and the months go by, I'll find a way of getting stuff during the week, and then I can put it up during this during the satsang. The infinite creativity satsang. There is no limit to your creativity, folks. None. I watched this program came up on YouTube, and it was Arte. I don't know if you've heard of Arte, A-R-T-E. It's a joint French and German channel, and they have artistic stuff and things, you know, like arty programs and interesting reporting stuff. A bit less crap than many of the channels. And this thing came up, and it was something about the universe, and they started talking about man and our place in the universe, and our significance in the universe. And obviously significance isn't quite the word to use. It's insignificance is the word we should be using. And they did this thing where they zoomed from, apart from the fact that our bodies are a kind of cosmos to itself, of a bunch of stuff hanging together with various forces for a certain amount of time. Okay, that's our bodies. So even we are not really what we think we are. But oh my goodness, then they started to zoom out to the level of the Earth. Okay, fair enough. The Earth, it's pretty big, you know, it's a big thing. Oh. And then it zoomed out to the Earth being in the solar system. Fair enough. The sun. They say the Earth is an average size, sort of random, pathetic. Well, it's not pathetic because it's got life on it and stuff. But our sun is a random, pretty puny sun in comparison to some of its near neighbors in our galaxy, who are, I don't know, 1 billion times bigger, you know, like 1 billion or something nuts like that. Our sun's a pimple. Our sun, not the Earth, our sun is a tiny little thing compared to some of its near neighbors. The galaxy has got billions of stars with solar systems in them. Each solar system on average maybe has a planet. So billions in our little solar system. You look into the sky, they showed a picture, and there were bright spots. They said, these aren't stars, these are galaxies. And there are billions of galaxies with billions of suns and planets inside them. And those are only the ones we can see. And, you know, I mean, they ran out of ways of helping us understand how insignificant we were as a planet, never mind us on the planet. You know, I mean, they were trying to say, well, look, in the number of planets that we know exist, our planet is about as the equivalent of 1 grain of sand in all the deserts and beaches and seabeds of the world. And those are the ones we can see with our strongest telescopes. You know, it's just a joke. And then you think of us on that grain of sand. It's just incredible. And we worry about some stuff, don't we? So so there you go. I don't know why I was saying that. I mean, basically, it's just a joke. I just laughed. I just thought it's a joke. Everything we do is a joke, you know. Yeah, we can think it's important. We can love our loved ones. Sure we can. But let's not worry too much about some stuff that is so insignificant it really isn't worth worrying about. For the limited amount of time we have here in this consciousness, let's really, really, really look at the positive stuff, for goodness sake. We haven't got time to waste. I mean, what I'm doing here, putting a bunch of numbers together in a collection from 1 to 81, what a pointless thing to do. But it makes me happy. That's it. That's why it's worth doing. It makes me happy. So there's that. And Chris is saying, trying to share pictures every day on Facebook. Yeah, okay. Finding it challenging, realizing that you might not always have something really great to share. Well, by whose standards, Chris? As soon as you, I'm not saying that that's not a valid point, because obviously there's some photographs I reject and some I choose. Whatever I've posted today, I rejected all the rest, you know, for today. But having said that, don't get hung up in it not being good enough, because that's a danger. That's a danger which can kill creativity. Just getting anything out there is good, because you don't know what's going to happen. I always come back to one of my favorite expressions about action. You know, when you're in action, things happen. When you're not in action, well, maybe nothing will happen. You're in action, you might think, yeah, but what if, you know, what if people laugh at me? What if, you know, my reputation kind of goes down in people's eyes or whatever? Well, I'm not saying you think this, Chris, but, you know, that's what a lot of people think. They're worried, like they're worried about doing a Facebook Live, for example, excruciatingly worried. And what are they worried about? What's going to happen? They're not going to die, for a start. Let's get that one out of the way. They're not going to get eaten by a wild animal. They're not going to not have enough to eat or lose all their savings. Okay, let's get a bit more real. Are they going to lose face? Is someone important going to laugh at them, or are they not going to get a job because of some video they've put up there that a future employer might find a bit odd? Well, you know, this is all pretty random, isn't it? It's all pretty random, invented nonsense, to be honest. Get something out there. These days, people are publishing stuff. People are on YouTube. People are creating things. Creativity can't be compared to anything else. That's what I was saying to Despina and Daphne. You're both creative. That's it. Stop. Full stop. Boom. End of sentence. There isn't comparison because you're not the same person. You know, let's get real. So, Chris, I would say, if you want to, if you're feeling it, do it every day. Fantastic. It'll become your thing for a while. And you'll see that you'll stop thinking things are so bad. If you think they're not that creative, well, push yourself to be more creative. That's okay. That's fine. We don't have to think that everything's cool. We're allowed to try to push ourselves and produce stuff that's better, but be careful. Be careful with the word better, because by whose terms, on whose standards, in whose eyes? Better doesn't mean anything. But if you're happy with it, or you're getting happier with it than the last one, that's all that matters. Go for it. It's fun. It's got to be fun. Don't worry about what anyone else says. If anyone feels like criticizing, I mean, who, you know, you've been for some funny circles. If people actually criticized what you shared, that would be kind of weird, wouldn't it? But say they did. Well, what's their problem? You know, what are they unhappy about as a person? What has your creativity shown them about themselves, revealed about themselves, that makes them feel unhappy about themselves? Because that's all it is. I've got a series of memes, which you may know or you may not know, and one of them, I'm sharing them in my masterclass. I've decided to put a meme relating to creativity in my masterclass. Should I show you those? Let's see if I can remember it. Yeah, so it was something like, if you want to know something about a critic, listen to them. Otherwise, forget them. No, that wasn't it. I'm going to try and find it because it's bugging me now. I'm going to try and find which one it was. So I'm going to go to my memes. I haven't done these memes for a while, but then they've been replaced by other projects. So Paris, they're called the Meme Streets of Paris. Do you like that one? And what I do is I take a bit of, no, I don't take a bit of text. It's original text. I was going to say I take a bit of text from one of my Daily Paris things. No, I don't. It's an original piece of text. This is an excellent writing discipline. That's why I want to have memes as a part of the writing group. You try to say something as profound or funny or as ironic or whatever your thing is as possible in the fewest number of words, as succinct as possible. I don't know if I'm going to find it now. It was, well, just have a look at these as we're going through them, you see. So I take my image of the day. I don't do these every day, far from it. Hang on, I've got to concentrate. I'm looking for critics. Critics. If you see the word critics, just shout stop. Critics, critics, critics. I think it was on the left. Get off. Get off. Oh. By the way, as we're waiting, Chris is saying, so Chris said, finding it challenging, realizing you might not always have something to share. Mine. Chris says mine. I don't know what that means. Then she says, thanks for the positive feedback. You are much appreciated by me. Excellent, excellent. Yeah, yeah. No need to compare yourself to anybody. It's a complete waste of time. But if you share your creativity, great things will happen. Totally agree with the creative process, bringing new energy to my life. Yes, yes, yes. And there's times to do nothing. There's time to go for a walk and switch your brain off and appreciate the trees. But a bit of creativity on a regular basis works wonders, I find. Okay, so apparently I'm signed in. So I did this one about critics. I'm going to get there. And if you want to go to this, it's called on Instagram. It's called Meme Streets of Paris. Meme Streets of Paris. And it's fun. When I have a funny idea, I create a meme for it on top of my photographs. I'm not sure about the text. Maybe it's too difficult to read. It's at this size it is, but when you blow it up, you can read it. But I'm still wondering if there's a better way. What I didn't want to do was cover my photographs with a big block of black or something. But so I tried to make the white big enough. Okay, critics, critics, critics. Can you say anything about critics? It's quite a lot, you see. Now, this is another example of doing something regularly. Just start doing something and do it regularly. Something you like. If you can find a theme, like I've got my square photographs, I chose the style of the text, and I put my little thing, you know, the thing, the address, website address, Paris Set Me Free, or sometimes it's infinity. If I did it in the name of the coaching, 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 her own memes if you feel so inclined. You know, it's nice when people put it in a style. You can even make pretty patterns on Instagram because they display them in rows of 3. Where is this thing about critics? Good grief. Well, maybe what I'll do is grab one of these each week, or a few of these each week, and talk about them. Oh, look at that. On the right there. Drink coffee and eat croissants. And now I've stopped drinking coffee. So I'm not finding one about critics. It basically said, oh, good grief. Go back to the top. So it says, you know, if you want to know more about critics, listen to critics, otherwise forget them. Because what do critics tell you? Well, they tell you about them. So do you want to know about critics, or do you want to carry on and read something written by an artistic person who's written something original? I wonder about the usefulness of critics and their existence on the planet. Theoretically, they're supposed to help people maybe discover new things. That's not so bad. But when they criticize in the negative sense, they really are a complete waste of space, I think, because it's only their opinion. So I'm not finding it, but at least you've seen my memes. Maybe it's a more recent one that I haven't put up there. So that was that. Ah, I found it. Oh my goodness, took a while, didn't it? In the middle of nowhere. Unless you enjoy learning about critics, don't listen to critics. Okay, good. 𝗏𝗏𝗏 says, you know, critics are kind of, I don't want to be nasty. I use words like a subspecies and things like this, or you want to sort of scrape them off your boot. But I used to do some a lot of book criticism actually, and music criticism sometimes. When criticism, not saying it's bad, but saying, you know, there's a new album out or whatever. Excuse me. Excuse me. So that can be good. It can be fun, but I've realized that very often it doesn't really help, especially for creative people. So 𝗏𝗏𝗏 says, so you are not drinking coffee ever again? Oh yeah, I will. Yeah, I mean, I've got a meme which says, you know, something about coffee, so I can't not drink coffee. You know, me and coffee. Drink coffee and eat croissant. You know, in the style of that Stay Calm and Think of England or whatever it is. So yeah, I will. But there's this thing called decaffeinated coffee. So I can get by with that, with the taste for the moment, and something else called chicory. I kind of got a bit sick of that. But right now, because when I forgot to get the coffee, I decided to stop it, see if I could stop it. And then I got very bad headaches for 4 days. it's got personal between me and coffee now. And I don't want to let that, that sucker beat me. So right now I don't feel inclined to buy any more coffee or drink any. And I'm also a tiny weeny bit scared that I'll just go back to how I was. So it's like abstinence as opposed to cutting down, which is, that's another topic, isn't it? I got a bit of experience with alcoholic drinks in that, not with smoking, because I never got hooked on smoking. I only tried it a couple of times, and that didn't work for me, thank goodness. Drinking, yeah, and probably you can transfer stuff to do with that over to other addictions or other unhelpful habits. And then it's up to you to decide if it's a problem for you or not, if it's really negatively impacting your life or not. And then what to do about it. And there's a few ways of dealing with addictions. I've got one or two pet ways, which I think are quite good, could be quite good. But for me, what worked for me when I wanted I was drinking too much and had been for a long time. So what did it for me was being able to work on it as an intelligent adult, as opposed to a victim, a poor little victim who was ill and stuff. That didn't work for me, even if it was true. I had to find another way. And the problem is when you've got a problem with some sort of substance, the substances are very, very clever. They're not really clever, but let's anthropomorphize a bit. They're really clever, very sneaky, and they make you be the last one who realizes you've got a problem. I mean, literally the last person on earth who realizes you've got a problem which could be worth doing something about. The problem is you're the one who's suffering from it. You're the one who is protecting you from actually getting better, or the new you, which has been created by the addictive substance. Very, very vicious and evil. All of these ones, especially the legal ones, alcohol and cigarettes, very, very vicious substances. So yeah, the only way, well, I had to realize that there was a problem, and then I still had to do it my way. I couldn't, there was just something in me. I couldn't let it beat me. Although, I mean, it had kind of beaten me for many years, but it hadn't really, because I was still a willing player. At least I thought I was. But when I decided to see what I could do about it, it had to come from me like a choice. That was just the way it had to work for me. And as soon as I was able to do that, then I did what was necessary, and yeah. So yeah, coffee. No, I'm not. I haven't given that up like I gave up booze, but yeah. Okay, so how are we doing? My goodness, have I? Oh no, I started at 3:30. Right, we're gonna have a little break now. I might get a warm drink. You can go and have a break. I'll put the lights on, and I'll be back in 3 or 4 minutes. How's that? That work for you? While you're waiting, if you'd like to, why don't you type in some comments in the chat for me? I'd love to come back and have some comments to react to. I've got more stuff to show you, don't worry, including something really interesting from 2 years ago. Very, very curious thing. I'm thinking of revamping. I think you might find that interesting. And yeah, put some comments in the chat, where you're from, if you've just joined, who you are, and what your latest creative thing was that you did this week, for example, or something that you would love to create and you'd like a bit of a booster on that. Okay. Alrighty, I'm back. Can you hear me? Hope you can hear me. Audio, I'll just check it just in case. Unmute, so that should be okay. I'm back. I can take the back in 3 minutes banner away. It's kind of funky. And has anyone asked me any questions? Oh, I have 2 questions. And just have a look at what you can see in front of you there. What about this? Let me just get rid of it. This is... this is a blast from the past. It was such a cool website thingy that I had to go for it. And then it's kind of been on hold for a couple of years. It's called sablab.info. Sablab.info. How funky is that? But I haven't touched it for about 2 years. And I fell in love with this template thing. I think it's completely out of date. I think it'll break at any minute, but isn't that cool? So cool. And here I am back with this. For coffee drinkers, I can show you 2 alternatives, which you know, but I'll show you them anyway. As I try and check this mug out as well. How's that for a funky mug? It's in the style of 𝗏𝗏. You know 𝗏𝗏, the Spanish Catalan artist, I think he was. I just absolutely, it's kind of over my keyboard. I'm a bit nervous. That is so cool. Present from my mother and my son last year. The alternatives to coffee would be this, decaf, and this, Monster, which is called chicory. And you know, they're okay. They're brown, they're hot, they're all right. I should also show you some half-time entertainment as my juggling skills. How can I put this? I dropped them slightly less than before. I'm gonna try this, all right? You know that I've been like a few weeks ago, I was dropping like this. You're gonna have to watch this a few times. So, and then I've got 2 lots. I've got Xander's balls, and I've got these from Tony Buzan, and they say it's a fantastic brain exercise, and it's also actually quite physical. It's amazing. It gets quite tight here. So just remember, I couldn't juggle. I mean, I can't really juggle, but I couldn't juggle at all a few weeks ago. So look, I'll drop them a few times at first, just to show you what not to do. I haven't got anything to, I've got a sofa in front of me. So basically you throw. Hey. Did you see that? Did you see that? That was like 7 in a row. Hey, can you see this? Can you see this? Could you see that? Did you see that? Oh my God, that is so, I'll even start with the left hand. 1, 2, 3. Ah! Most of the time it's that. It's ah. But you know, little by little through. Oh my God. Well, there you go. I hope you can see that. I hope you can see that someone isn't throwing me new balls when I drop them. Yeah. Well. So this might be a regular half-time entertainment. As over the coming months and years, you know, you can see how I get on with that. And the other part-time entertainment, I've started something. It's going to be really big. It's going to be my today's the day for tomorrow. I'm going to start learning this properly. Okay, I'm going to start learning my musical drum properly. Isn't that beautiful? What a beautiful sound. So it's still resonating. And I bought it like over, I don't know if it's 1 year or 2 years now. It's ridiculous. I bought it, so excited. Then of course I didn't learn it. And there must be some sort of fear there, you know, embarrassment, not thinking I'm any good, not finding the time, not having the discipline. It's really ridiculous. So I thought, okay, I'll use the balls, the juggling balls, to see if I can add a new thing to my routine for very little pain. So I thought, okay, 3 minutes, 3 times a day. 3 minutes, 3 times a day. 3 minutes is nothing. It's almost the time I wait for, you know, the water to boil for a coffee? What's the excuse? So I put them strategically somewhere where I can pick them up and do it. But that's not enough either, because I'll still ignore them or something. So I've got my favorite productivity system at the moment is my to-done list. Okay, to-done list. I only put stuff on here when I've done it. It's fantastic. I can't recommend it enough. For me, you know, if it's not your thing, it's not your thing. But I mean, I've been doing it for quite a few days now, you see. It just goes on and on, and it works. The great thing is, a to-do list is a disaster, because you think, right, I'll make my to-do list. You put a ton of stuff on it. You know, you think you're going to solve all your problems, and why not the you know, deforestation and the ozone layer as well at the same time. You don't finish your to-do list, and plus you keep adding stuff. You know, you're so excited, so you keep adding stuff instead of crossing stuff off, because it's more fun, because you think you're going to do even more. Hello, reality calling. And this is amazing, because the longer the list gets, the more you have done. The more you have done. It's not, you know, to do, it's done. So that is absolutely fantastic. I love it. It's so motivating. You don't even need to have a to-do list. You know what you want to do. Go spontaneous. Go with what you feel that you want to do next, because you know you're in action. You know you want to do it. Okay, let's make it something that's reasonably creative, not, you know, completely mindless. But as creative people and productive people, that should be what we want to do. Take the thing that you want to do, like, you know, your photos or writing or something. Well, do it, not something else. Do it as soon as you can after you've got up. I mean, I'm finding that I'm not even eating sometimes before 11 or midday. What's going on? It's because I start creating from the minute I get up. I've got my little routine, and I get in the flow, and I don't stop. And I realize it's good for the good old intermittent fasting. I'm like 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, and I'm about to make my breakfast. And I've just done my little exercise session as well. It's incredible. And I've created. So yeah, that was a kind of aside, but I will give you asides. Yeah. So there we are. And I've got some comments, which is fantastic. You listened to me, or maybe one person wrote 9 comments. All right, so Despina is saying, what are you working on for class? What are you working on for class? Class? You mean the master class? You can... I'm not sure exactly what you mean by that, working on for class. Greek and Latin roots for advanced vocabulary, grouping them. We hear you, we hear you. Okay. Okay. What did I ask you? That's what you're working on at the moment? That's something that you could start doing regularly? Greek and Latin roots for advanced? Okay. Yeah, I kind of lost the thread of what you're answering to, actually, I'm afraid. We hear you, we hear you. Great. She says, we hear you. And then she says, we hear you. In both ears. That should be made for some interesting pictures. Okay. And hi, Sab. I joined during the break. Hey, everyone. Hi, Tinkutsa. Hi. I'm getting hot. Not just because Tinkutsa's arrived. It was the juggling that did it. Tinkutsa, maybe you missed my juggling, did you? Okay, so I had a little talk about coffee replacements. Ta-da! And it's working for me. It's got personal between me and coffee, so that's maybe that's a good thing. And what else can I tell you? Yeah, so Tinkutsa, how are you doing? I'd like to know. Yeah, Tinkutsa is saying the drum sounds are heavenly. I can't wait for you to share more of those. You know, like my juggling, I'm doing it 3 minutes, 3 times a day. All I have to do is the same thing for the drum. This drum is an expensive drum. It's so wonderful. It's so magical. I've got this dream. And the dream is that I will scratch my back first. The dream is that I will spend some Sunday afternoons on the Pont des Arts, the Artists' Bridge in Paris, on a Sunday afternoon, I'll have my musical drum, I'll bong around a bit, and I'll have my little square paintings in front of me. And I'll be this weirdo, artistic weirdo on the Pont des Arts pedestrian bridge, wooden bridge in the middle of Paris in the most beautifully incredible place. That's my little dream. So how is it going to become a reality if I don't practice my drum? Do you have a dream? Do you have something crazy like that? Please tell me. You know, I don't want this to be all about me. So that's my little dream. And I've had it for a while now, so I'm getting a bit sick of it being a dream. And I'd like to make it a bit realer. And I've got this worry. Obviously, I can't play the drum at all. But obviously, that's going to be something that's going to come up. Bonging that thing in public where I don't really know what I'm doing, that's going to be a bit scary. So I'd like to get some practice in. And I'm going to try and do it 3 minutes, 3 times a day, just like the juggling. And you know what happens when you start doing it for 3 minutes and 3 minutes isn't enough. So you just do another couple of minutes and suddenly you're doing more because you started, because you got in the game, because you took action. So that's my plan for my drum. And you guys can inspire me. I'm here to inspire you, but you can inspire me too, okay? Try and, well, I really don't want to say this, but kind of expect me to be able to, you know, play like at least a scale or something next week. Yeah. And juggle a bit more. So that's cool. And Vespin is saying, you think so? Yeah, great ideas. Yes, okay. I can't remember what you're commenting on though. That's the problem. Oh yeah, about your daily thing. The daily thing is great. The things, poems based on writing based on the days of the week. Fantastic. Daphne says, well done. Thank you, Daphne. That was for the juggling, was it? Wow. Yeah, you know, I just started 3 balls. That's the basic, you know, 3 balls. And I'm not dropping them as often as I used to. That's all I can say. And Despin is saying, if it's more than 3 to 5 things on the to-do list, it doesn't work. Yeah, you know, there's a million of these systems. I've got books on them and I've tried them and none of them have worked. You know, well, what does that tell you? What does it tell you? Does it tell you something about me, about the system? I don't know, but I love buying books about systems and reading them and investing in them. I'm just not so keen on doing them. I've got these 2 books on habits. Let me show you them. They happen to be here. This one is The Power of Habit, Why We Do What We Do and How to Change, which was okay. It was good. I was excited about it. I even bought 2 copies by mistake, I think, but I didn't really do it. And then this one came along, Atomic Habits. Now this one I like. Tiny changes, remarkable results. Tiny changes. This one worked more for me than this. This was a bit too abstract, I think, although I can't remember. This one was pretty practical, really good stuff. I might read it again. An easy and proven way to build good habits and break bad ones. And he's called James Clear. A supremely practical and useful book. A revolutionary system to get 1% better every day. And you know what? That is what it's about. That's why I'm looking back. Soon I'll be looking back on 1,000 photographs and texts. And where did they come from? They came from doing a little bit every day. If someone had said to me, could you write 1,000 texts to go with 1,000 photographs, please? I'd say, are you joking? How do you expect me to do that? I haven't got that sort of time. And yet I'm coming up to it. And it's because I take action every day on something that I genuinely like doing, love doing. So it's not work for me. It's a pleasure. I'm grateful that I can do that every day. I'm excited to do it. I'm excited. I mean, when I'm in the writing of the article, when I'm playing with the photograph, I'm in there. I'm not even thinking about anything else. I'm into the zone pretty quickly. And when I publish it, I'm excited because I've added a new one to my collection. I've had my little boost of dopamine or whatever it is early on in the day, maybe about before midday. And I've hopefully, you know, given some pleasure to people who like pictures of Paris, or maybe to people who like reading my stuff. And I then exploit it in my writing group and my photography group and my Today's the Day group, recycling the pixels. So it's all win. It's all win-win just from taking action. So this is all good stuff. Yeah, so there's three to five things. I don't have a to-do list. I literally don't have one. I've got a to-done list. And because I'm so excited to fill my to-done list, I actually end up doing the things that I want to do and that I should do, because I just want to add a new item. When I've run out of items, I think of one of those things I'm not too keen on, like cleaning the bathroom toilet or something. And I put it on there and I do it because it lets me get another one on my list. I'm a kind of chronic collector, even if it's collecting. You know, I want to try. My aim each day is to try to get down to there with stuff, even if it's a little thing. You know, like phone someone. I'll put it on there if it was something I wanted to do, and I'm trying to fill the page. It's an exciting way of looking at a to-do list. You know, crossing things off. It's maybe not as the huge spectre of failure is hanging over your head every day if you have a to-do list. Because if you don't cross every item off, bam, failed again, buddy. You see? And that's not worth having in your life. So go for 3 items. If it's doable, put your top 3 items. I created a mind map once, and it was very much based on that. A beautiful mind map. I'll share it. I should share it. I can't remember what it was called. It was great, and it had 3 things. It had 3 things that you had to do, which was already better than an interminable, unrealistic, you know, dreamland to-do list. All right, so let me show you this. Now, have I got any more comments? Love the idea of your productivity list. Yeah, that's it. Productivity list. Anyway, I've just said that. So let me show you this. Okay, so check this out. This was an old, I'll get rid of that for the moment. This was an old, that's not so old, fairly recent, but I never really got exploited it enough. And hang on, I'll even get rid of this one. So there is Welcome to SabLab. The idea for this one was that I would have a central place for everything I do, a bit like this, but on a bigger scale. So every time I've done something significant, I could put it on here. That was kind of my idea. That's my new idea. I think that's what I might do. I don't have a newsletter. I'd like to have a newsletter, but the thing is, if I put all my stuff, people will never read it. It'll be too long. So I thought I'll send a newsletter. I'll start a newsletter. It's supposed to be good for marketing. A little tiny bit of news and then a link towards this page. And this page will have all my latest stuff that's worth anything, that's worth putting out there. So, you know, I do a new article. I'll put it in the Lazy Pig website. I'll put it here. I'll put a link here. I do a new photograph, my daily photograph. I'll put it here. Great. So, you know, and it's fun. It's such an amazing layout. So I'm thinking of doing that. Nice decaf. Also, 𝗏𝗏𝗙𝗏𝗏, I'm really trying to focus on drinking more water with some of your tips as well, because 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏, I'm talking to you, because it is so important. And I saw in your group, you put something about water. How is it easy to drink water or something? How do you manage to drink water? There were some funny comments in there. I think even the question was a bit strange. Something anyway. Yeah, so I'm really trying to work on. I like the idea of having water in each room, and I like the idea of a funny bottle as well, a fun bottle, so it's fun to drink from. But the thing that really works well for me is when it's the thing you want to do is everywhere, like the balls, the juggling balls. Put them. They're just there, you know. You are waiting for the kettle. Oh, there's some juggling balls. Let's juggle. Or I walk through to the kitchen area, and oh, there's a glass of water sitting there. I have some water. It's really, really good to do that. So I'm going to revamp this. And I was looking through this, and I kind of stopped it right when I started my Paris Set Me Free Paris Photo Chronicles, and I found an article. I think it was in the SAB. Was it in the SAB blog? Look at this. My latest creations, the SAB blog, and the SAB blog kind of thing. And I was trying to do these. I did a few of them. Mind mapping course, a creativity course. I was promoting positive education and mind mapping at the weekend, people coming to Paris, creative meetups. Oh, wow, so much stuff. This was the blurb for my does that get bigger? Oh, it probably goes off to the page itself. Mind mapping, look, there's an even, oh, look, it was January 2017. Oh my goodness, that's 3 years ago. Look at that. Buy one course, you get the second at minus 50%. How about that? Mind mapping, creativity. Oh, those were great. Look at that. Look at that flyer. Crazy. Good stuff. Oh my God, I've even got testimonials from people who did it and liked it. Look at that. Oh, that's so cool. And then there's a creativity one as well. I did this creativity course. So you see, 3 years ago, I was already heavily into it. Just hadn't found my format. Well, I had this format. This was pretty cool. People being creative. Oh my God, that's amazing. So what I wanted to show you though was the blog and a post that I wrote at the beginning of my Paris project, and I'm now at number 850. Can't even remember how this works. Okay, so this was the introduction to the project. When Lady Eiffel Smiles, #1. Can you believe that? Look at this. If I go to the actual page, the last one, number 861. That is the power of a revolutionary system to get 1% better every day. That's one way of looking at it, but also tiny steps, tiny changes, remarkable results. I mean, I've got a book here. I've got a huge book of photographs and texts now from doing it one a day. So I was saying, all nervous, for 1,000, this was the project at the time, for 1,001 days or possibly more, I'll be writing 101 wily words, or probably fewer, over one of my personalized Paris street pics or perturbing self-portraits in English and French. Want to join me? I was going to do it in French as well. Whew, that didn't work out. Here's the naked text and pic. The most extraordinary adventure starts with a single step. And before that, the idea of an adventure. Or maybe just the idea of a single step. The last 24 years of my life started with the purchase, that's my time in France, started with the purchase and its idea of a single cheap ticket to Paris. I'm reading this for the first time in 3 years. The next 1,000 days of my life. And yours, 1,001 days, because I'll tell you why, because I'd already done a project earlier where I did photographs and a text for 1,000 days. So I wanted to go one better, 1,001 days. The next 1,001 days of my life and yours start here with this image and 101 odd words. My original idea was 1,001 pictures and each picture with 101 words. That got untenable pretty quickly. So there it is. That was #1. I made this #2 in the end because I decided to do every photograph that ended in a 1. I would put a creative self-portrait, which I call creative disintegration, so as not to flatter myself. Got a comment of the comments. 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏 says, happy the tips are helpful. She's talking about the water tips, yeah, and all her help tips. The tips are on my profile for anyone to see. Yeah, so you can click on 𝗏𝗏𝗏𝗏's profile and you'll find her and her very good healthy eating and healthy habits and exercise tips for entrepreneurs who work at home. Despina says, what does a creativity course include? Well, this one, my one-day one, that was a one-day one. And it was doing some creative activities with unusual materials and stimulating ideas which hadn't been stimulated before. It was kind of like a bubble of a day, or a day's bubble where they entered this lovely little corner studio near the Eiffel Tower. Oh, I don't have the use of that anymore. It was already an artist studio, so there were all paintings on the walls. It was great, little sculptures, clay sculptures on the tables, and it was so cute. And you could have up to 8 people. Cozy little corner studio, and I had a kind of PowerPoint presentation, but it was to explain stuff, and then there were videos, but it was all the time, constantly fun, creative activities of all sorts. Quite manual, like building a tower or making your name creatively out of plasticine, or imagining ways of solving interesting problems in life. Really, really good stuff. And then the mind mapping one was about mind mapping, learning creative mind mapping, not stupid, boring mind mapping that some people do. Judgmental. So, yeah, I'm reading about about creativity in kids. Well, yeah. Well, I think the kids can teach us about creativity, actually. So, yeah, I'm big on positive education. They call it la pédagogie positive here. And yeah, I do some work sometimes with kids and parents, and mind mapping is very much part of that, and all sorts of stuff. And in case you were wondering, when lady who does what, this is my description of the project, which is now 860. Well, it's like this, you see. I need a major creative challenge every few years or so. Now, see if you recognize yourself in this. I don't want this to be all about me. What does this stimulate in you? Do you have feelings like this? Do you need challenges, regular challenges? Do you get them? Do you find that you're frustrated because you can't? Let me know. So when lady who does what? Because I called it when Lady Eiffel smiles. I need a major creative challenge every few years or so. A few years back, I managed to post an artistic photo of Paris, along with some philosophical ramblings, over on my Paris and I blog, which is kind of dead now, for 1,000 days in a row. Actually more than that, but the biggie was 1,000, and I made it. And I've been itching to try something similar again. This is it. The idea is pretty much the same, but the form's changed a bit. And of course, I've moved on in my thoughts too over the years. And I'm attempting a French version as well. So there's that, but there isn't that, because I decided you can't do everything. The theme will be pretty much anything that occurs to me in the moment, often inspired by my latest Paris street photo, but also reflecting where I am in my personal and professional projects at any given time. And it is that, actually. That's exactly what it is. I'm not too sure now if it's getting too sort of philosophical, blah, blah, and I'm getting this urge. It's pulling me back to my roots of the curiosities and the wonders of Paris, and leave the sort of philosophical stuff to Lazy Pig, because I've created lazypig.com. So maybe I should pull my more, weird ramblings over there. But I said that to myself, and I thought that's probably a good idea. And then I said to myself, but you're probably not going to do it, are you? And then I said to myself, no. So I will probably carry on with my ramblings, but I will try to focus more on the Paris side of things, because I want to get back to my love of the curiosities of Paris. There's so many of them. It's so rich. The deeper you go into a topic, the more rewarding it is. And I know there's a million other cities which are wonderful. So all of them, I'm just saying no to them, because you can't do everything. I can still go and visit some of them, but I want to go deeper with Paris. I want to make that my thing. So there you go. So I'm gonna try and focus more on the curiosities of Paris. Make more and more of the photos actually a curiosity, something really. I mean, I hope they're interesting, but and a little bit of the history of the curiosity, more often anyway. And put more of my stuff about creativity, productivity, life, the universe, and everything, and the weird stuff of life on lazypig.com. Makes sense to me. We'll see what happens. Despina says, here is the text. There is no such thing as a lazy kid. Okay. Creativity. This is a text that you're quoting, I guess. There is no such thing as a lazy kid. Creativity is a human need. All kids feel the need to create and express themselves. When a kid or an adult doesn't create, it's not because they don't want to or feel bored, but they are blocked, have low self-esteem, or believe that what they will create will not be good. This lack of creativity can cause addiction, procrastination, low performance, and guilt. This is what happens when we don't create. Well, what do you think of that, guys? Any instant reactions to that? I've kind of taken that in my mind to the extreme, whether it's true or not, in that we are creativity. It's what makes us what we are. We can't not be creative. We can have it squashed or diverted, or people can force us to do what they want us to do, either individuals or societies or educational systems. But even then, we're still creating every moment of our lives. So I see ourselves as creative furnaces, bubbling over. Do furnaces bubble over? Well, mine do. Bubbling over with ideas, creativity. We're reacting. We don't know what's going to happen in the next second. We react to things in real time. So how do you every time someone asks you a question, you don't look in the manual how to answer that question. For example, there isn't a manual, and no one's asked you that question before, probably. So we create a response in real time, and that's what we're made to do. It's not difficult. It's our calling. It's what we were designed to do. So I don't reject stuff like this. I agree with it, but I would take it further. Even adults who seem to have fitted into a kind of restrictive career, for example, they're still creating. They're just creating a boring life. They might feel they're hemmed in. They might feel they don't have a choice. Well, if they want to think that way, they can. But So yeah, I do agree with that. No such thing as a lazy kid. Yeah, because a lot of kids, including mine, get words like lazy thrown at them, and it's terrible, absolutely terrible. No, there aren't lazy kids. For a start, kids aren't made to sit down for many hours a day, like nailed to their desks, not saying anything, listening to someone rambling on about boring stuff that doesn't interest them. So, hello, it's not a surprise that some kids don't appreciate school that much. And those that do, the good ones, the sensible ones, they're the ones that shut their mouths. And, you can get some interest out of school. Of course you can. If you've got a good teacher, who do you remember at school? The boring teachers or the good ones? You remember the teachers more than the subjects. You say, what do you remember from your school days? Oh, there was this one teacher. Yeah, that says everything, doesn't it? You remember the teacher, not the subject first. Because we're humans and we remember humans. We don't remember workbooks. So education is obviously a fantastic thing. I just remembered that Lesbian as a teacher, so I'm desperately trying to scrabble back just in case I spent 3 minutes insulting teachers without realizing it. But I am a teacher as well. So yeah, so I think you see what I mean there. So kids, yeah, for goodness sake, kids. I see my kid in lockdown. I'm going to see him tomorrow for the first time in 2 months. He was dying. He doesn't like being stuck to a desk anyway, at the best of times. Although he's a very sensible kid. But what does that mean? Does that mean he's learned how to shut his mouth and conform? I'm not really that excited about the fact that he's become a sensible student, to be honest. But he was having terrible times at home. He couldn't sit down to do the so-called schoolwork at home. It was impossible for him. He'd sit in front of something he was supposed to read for 2 hours next to his mother. She was going nuts, and he could have read it in like 10 minutes and done the exercise. 2 hours, yeah. Oh, look, there's the cat. Oh, there's my fire engine. And this is a kid being a kid. And it's quite difficult to put that argument forward, and you've got people who are stressed out about his education. He's got exams in 8 years. I mean, my God, it's getting serious. I don't even remember having homework until I was about 11. But anyway, I'm very torn because, we're in the system. You're supposed to get results and they count and stuff and can help you get a good job, etc. But having said that, I just want to see him being creative. When he has a creative idea, a spontaneous one, I just see myself. So I'm not a very good parent in that respect, in terms of being hard and disciplined, because I kind of see myself in him. I think I skipped a generation. I was like my grandfather, who had these crazy ideas and like complete crap, a huge garage in the garden, completely full of crap. I was in awe of it. Every time I went in, I just thought, wow, there was half a boat. I'm in a big boat, half a boat in there. Oh, it was just crazy. And then my dad was very sensible. Hi, Dad, if you're watching. My dad was very sensible and, look after the pennies and the pounds will look after themselves. And, are you sure that's such a good idea? And I jumped a generation. I went back to my granddad's generation. I'm like him. Nutty, half-finished ideas all over the place and projects. But I think my son is going straight from me to him. He seems to be kind of the same, and I mean, he's going to be okay. He's not going to die. He's going to, we take things to extremes. And the world needs more creative people these days. I mean, even in the countries which rebuilt themselves after the war on their ability to copy stunning productivity of not very innovative stuff, like copying, like China, Japan, and I don't know, Taiwan or whatever, even they have moved over to having original ideas now. So what about us? They've taken, I mean, us, I say in the West, I'm not criticizing anyone, obviously, but in the countries I grew up in, our thing was inventive stuff. We weren't so good at the productivity. We shoved the productivity to other countries who were better at it than us. But now they're starting to add innovation to their productive skills. So what do we do now? They have the innovative ideas and they're better at producing them. And so we've got to get even more creative, even more innovative. This is the skill that we need now. Crazy ideas, spontaneous abilities to see amazing, unthought of solutions to tricky problems. This is where we can still advance and still find our place in the world. Everything's changing. Maybe with this lockdown, there'll be a huge burst explosion in online training opportunities. I don't know. Who knows? We want to stay. Maybe there's a rise in the consciousness of people. They're going to want to stay at home more. They value their home time. They can be more productive. Maybe if they're not homeschooling, they reduce their carbon footprint. They save time on travel. What isn't there to like? You can do Zoom meetings with your boss for most things. You don't have to take a plane. So maybe there's going to be a huge shift. Who knows? I hope so. I really hope so. I saw a very worrying thing on the trees today. I discovered this association. It's called 6 billion trees. You can check it out and read the first page. It's very interesting. They basically want you to sign up as a member and you pay something like $47 a month, but you can stop anytime. But it's basically for that, as a member, they will plant trees. They're not just doing petitions and stuff and signatures and, lobbying. They're planting trees. And they're saying, the experts are saying, the best thing you can possibly do for the planet, which is going to become uninhabitable soon, is to plant more trees. There's nothing better than trees about reducing the carbon dioxide. I think that's what it is. And there were these really scary statistics, like every second, another, it wasn't another football field of forest. It was something more like another bit of Wales, or, just something ridiculous. In a second, a whole large amount of trees have been felled in a second. And you can't believe that it's true, but it is. It's happening now. So the only way to battle that is to plant more trees and stop the people who are cutting them down. You know, so that's a really good initiative, which kind of is funny. It fits in with my mini initiative on my Infinity Squared Connective site, where I'm going to do my little pictures to help raise a little bit of money for the trees in Australia, which is nice. So check it out, 6 billion trees, I think it's called, website organization. Yeah, so there you go. Oh, it's 1:30. I've been going for 2 hours. How about that? Well, let me finish my stuff and then I'll go away. So there was this, and what else did I want to show you? That's pretty much it, actually. Do say hello or goodbye to let me know that you've been watching. I hope it's been nice for you. I started half an hour later than usual, so I'm finishing half an hour later. So that's going to be fun, that one there. There's my Forest Chronicles. This one, I got some nice comments on these as well. This one stirred some emotions in some people. Very nostalgic sort of picture. Oh, this is what made me want to get back to my pure old days, the craziness and the curios of Paris, just walking around, finding. This is a unique Paris metro sign and lamppost. Absolutely gorgeous. Look, you've even got ivy in metal winding up the post to this unique curved thing with that lovely arrow. The text is, I'm not sure if it's literally cut in the metal or if it's painted that way. I think it's probably cut in the metal so that a light can shine from behind it. And it's got that lovely round bit. You've got the tabac sign, classic French thing there, the red canopy thing. Awning is it? And the typical French architecture. That's a lovely metro station as well, absolutely beautiful. The entrance is there, kind of warm looking. And you've got 2 stairways going up on either side, or one going up on each side. Really, really nice stuff. And this is from a street in Montmartre, a little cobbled street, and Saule means willow, as in weeping willow. So a while back, like 400 years, it used to be lined by weeping willows. Can you imagine that? High up on Montmartre. Maybe there was a stream, because they normally like to go by streams. So that's kind of sweet as well, isn't it? I got a bit nervous because I said there weren't any now, and I was wondering, actually, these aren't weeping willows, are they? That would be a bit embarrassing. So there you go. That's pretty much all I've got for you. Well, that's my 2 hours up. Thank you so much for being so interactive, everyone. And Fabulous Creative Soul, says Despina. Couldn't have asked for a better compliment. And you too be creative. Everybody out there, be creative. What else can I share? I've reminded you about the smartphone group, which you can join. By the way, join that group and put a picture of your favorite mug. That's the theme for tomorrow, the favorite mug. Hello, goodbye. Oh, you're a Beatles fan, Chris. Hello, hello. You say hello and I say goodbye. Something like that. And join the writing one if you want to practice writing. And it's all about, and I'm going to start a writing theme this week as well. So just a theme you can work on during the week, and I'll talk about it in a new live, which I'll do in the writing group. Today's the Day is my wonderful group where it's got 2 functions. The first one is to remember a really nice thing you did today. That's kind of in retrospect. Or if you want to do something later on today, you want to push yourself a little bit to do it, you put your today's the day and you put it in the future. You say, today's the day I start writing my book, for example. Today's the day I start to learn my musical drum. That'll be tomorrow. And you can put these little things that I invented here before your today's the day. Always start with today's the day. But you can put like a little rocket here before today's the day, and that means you want some accountability. You want people to expect you to have done what you said you were going to do. You can have a light bulb, put it before your today's today. You'd like some ideas on your today's topic. You could, if you want to invite people to play a little game with you or something, or join in some fun idea, you put the dice next to it, your today's today, and you say, and that means who's playing. So it's just another way of trying to add color and creativity and fun to this topic. Not enough people are contributing to this. It's kind of died down a lot. It's normal. It always happens. But I'd like to find a way of boosting it again. So I might send out a little tag everybody and say, don't forget, you're supposed to. I mean, you can't force people to do it. And the minute you get a bit sort of, heavy, it stops being fun. But having said that, the idea isn't to have joined the group and then never contribute. The idea is absolutely to contribute regularly, quite often, like every week, say. Otherwise, what's the point? Because it's a wonderful way to boost yourself. You boost yourself about your life. You remember great things in your life every day. You can look back through it and say, oh, that was the day I did that. That was the day I did that. And then it struck me later, it will be a fantastic accountability partner, to get stuff done. Like this, a bit like this pushes me to do stuff. Writing a today's today with a little rocket in front. I really don't want to finish the day without having done it. And sometimes I said I was going to clean the toilet the other day with a little rocket in front. That meant hold me accountable. Someone reminded me, I think it was Desmina, and she said, and I thought, it was 1:30 in the morning. I went and cleaned the toilet. It works. It works. All right. So what's today's the day is what? Why don't you go over there now? Join up and write today's the day and the thing you want to remember this day for. Do it. It's fun. So thanks, everybody. Thanks so much. So Desmond is saying good night. Chris is saying hello, goodbye. I started listening to the Beatles albums from the very beginning. My aim is to listen to them all right the way through. I've got through the first two. Wonderful stuff. Nazanin saying goodbye. Goodbye, Nazanin. Thanks for watching. It's been great. Same time, same place next week for more fun. And bring your creative stuff. Give me links. What have you been creating? Say what you're creating in the Today's the Day group. Give me links that I can share next week. Ask me questions about your stuff. Not do I think it's any good, other stuff, because it's not for me to say. My opinion has no importance. More stuff like how can I create more, or stuff like that. And it'll be fun. So I'm so happy that I managed to see the comments today. Can you imagine? I spent 2 hours a couple of weeks ago or last week. I couldn't see a darn thing because there was a problem. Bye, everybody. Have a wonderful end of Sundays and a really good week next week, wherever you may be. Lots of love from Paris. Bye for now.